More StarCraft Evolution? More StarCraft Evolution. Spotting right here. In, I think, yeah, the bottom right-hand corner of a new fighting spirit. Playing with the blue Zerg pieces, we have a barcode player. No idea who this is. The opponent, though, playing with the Brood War Protoss in the top right-hand corner of the map. We're looking at, yeah, I'm sorry, another barcode player. I've been really liking these games, but sadly the Koreans don't want to reveal their identities, apparently. They just don't want to, so it is what it is. I haven't actually seen this matchup yet, with Brood War Protoss going up against a StarCraft 2 Zerg. So I'm excited to see exactly what ended up going down between these two. Obviously the replays here that I have had sent over to me, they're all from like well-known players. So it's not like these are going to be players that nobody has heard of. It's just that they are, yeah, not willing to play under their actual account names. Cross-spawn scouting location, by the way, here from our Protoss player who wants to go for a Nexus first. I mean, this is a 4-player map. Nexus first into Forge? Okay. I don't know if we're just gonna make defensive photon cannons or if we're actually planning on doing a cannon rush. This is definitely parting, isn't it? I'm thinking it's definitely parting. No, I think we're actually just using this defensively. I wouldn't be surprised. I know parting has been playing this mod. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was parting. But I think he's basically just going for, well, a strange looking version of a Forge Fast Expand. That is a build that we used to have in StarCraft 2. It didn't quite look like this though. But I guess it is an easy way to actually secure that low ground expansion. On this map, we did notice in the past that there are indeed 1800 minerals per mineral field, which is more than you would have in a regular StarCraft 2 base. So most of the StarCraft 2 bases you'll come across, they all have 4 mineral fields that have 1800 minerals and then 4 that have 900. So your bases run out a little bit quicker, but not quite the case here this time around. Now, if you've never seen this mod before, it is called StarCraft Evolution, SC Evo. It has become very popular over the last couple of weeks, especially over in Korea, but it seems like it's starting to gain a lot of traction outside of Korea as well now. Premise is pretty basic. It is one player playing with the StarCraft 2 units, as we all know them, as we all love them, and another player playing with Brood War units instead. From the games that I've seen so far, I have been really liking it, other than the Terran turtling. I've seen a lot of Terran turtling. I haven't really been a huge fan of that. But I guess maybe just the way that matchup worked out in those particular instances, it was just the way to do it. But I don't think it really needs to be played that way. It just seems like a lot of Terrans are just sitting back trying to make a Death Bowl type of army. So I'm hoping we're going to see... Well, there's no Terran in this game, so I don't think we're going to see that. But I'm hoping we're going to see not just a whole lot of photon cannons and a very, very slow early game here. But I guess only time will tell. This does, of course, create a ton of different matchups, by the way. Having effectively 6 races really just... it definitely does change the dynamic of all of these matchups quite a bit. And there's a lot of minute differences that you would have to keep in mind. In this mod, you can technically play, well, StarCraft 2 versus StarCraft 2 and also StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 1. But it seems like pretty much all of the games, I mean, StarCraft 2 versus StarCraft 2 would not really make a whole lot of sense in a custom mod, I guess, like this, but it seems like pretty much all of the games are StarCraft 2, with one player playing StarCraft 2 and then the other one playing StarCraft Brood War units instead, which seems like a perfect mix to get, yeah, the two different communities to join together a little bit. Because in a very strange way, even though we're all kind of in the same RTS boat, StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 has very much so existed alongside one another. I think it's kind of cool to have a little bit more overlap, especially because I think a lot of StarCraft Brood War fans would enjoy StarCraft 2 and vice versa. Looks like we've got ourselves a cheeky little Dragoon, or not a Dragoon, a Reaver opener here. Well, there is already a Dragoon patrolling back and forth. I guess he's really afraid of an Overlord Scout here. I don't think this is going to be for a Zerg drop. One thing that you don't have, though, in StarCraft Brood War is creep spread to this extent. Just having 2 queens dedicated to spreading creep around the map is actually really going to change a ton already. That's not even considered that much in StarCraft 2 in modern day and age. You see players that have like 4, 5, 6 queens dedicated to creep spread alone. This is still going to create a bit more vision, though, for the Zerg that Protoss would not normally be going up against. Alright, here goes the Reaver drop. We do, by the way, have a Templar Archives. Now, in StarCraft 1, the Templar Archives unlocks both the Dark Templar as well as the High Templar. And obviously, you can morph in 2 of these Dark Templar together as well to create a Dark Archon, which changes the entire dynamic of the game a lot. Okay. Here we go. Reaver drop coming in. Oh, what? No! That's like the only thing you shouldn't be shooting at. Okay, well, I guess there wasn't a lot more in range. Transfusion, another one of those things. Yeah. 3 drones is really nothing to write home about. Not really what we're hoping for. The Dark Templar, though, very close together. Not afraid to get into each other's personal space. They're gonna be running across the map here. Oh. Ooh, they did a big switcheroo. It was actually kind of... I don't know if Zerg could even have really seen that. That was... that was funky. The Zealot got dropped off, and we now have 2 Dark Templar here, together with the Reaver inside of the shuttle. So this has become a high-value shuttle over here for certain, if it wasn't already. Overseer nearby, though. Spore Crawler nearby, too, so loads of detection available right here for the Zerg. Unlike StarCraft 1 Zerg, Overlords, of course, are not detectors in this game. You need to morph in the Overseer, or you get a Spore Crawler. But also, unlike StarCraft Brood War, you actually get a notification if your drones are under attack from Dark Templar. In StarCraft 1, if your drones are under attack by a Dark Templar, since they're getting one-shot, you don't actually get a notification. Like, no audible notification that your base is under attack. Because you're not technically taking damage. You're just losing everything by 1 hit. So, since no damage is detected, no audible signal is given. Tricky map, though, for Protoss, I would imagine, right? Against StarCraft 2 Zerg, at the very least. Yeah, dead troops can't sound the alarm. I like my science fiction games to be realistic. I hate it whenever my science fiction fantasy video games are unrealistic, to say the least. Alrighty, Kijkwijzer Amulet coming up. That is the energy improvement for the High Templar. It allows them to spawn with enough energy for a Psy Storm. And there's a Dark Archon coming up. Another hatchery building at the bottom of the map. I'm thinking if there are any like early game cheeses that would be really difficult to hold. Obviously this is a 4-player map, so I think like a 12 pool or something wouldn't be a great choice. But what about like a Roach Ravager rush? I mean, there are Stargate units in the game, obviously in normal StarCraft 2, right? One of the reasons why those Roach Ravager rushes aren't very popular is because of the fact that there's usually a Stargate opener. You could have a Stargate opener in this matchup too, but I've got a feeling a Roach Ravager push would be able to deal a ton of damage. It's a good old upgrade for the Dark Templar coming up. They have a bunch of different researches. I believe this is Millstrom. They have like an energy improvement too. There's a bunch of stuff. Mind control, of course. Technically speaking, Protoss could steal one of the drones. And then, well, it would be possible. They could steal one of the drones and start making their own. Would it be a Brood War Zerg army or a StarCraft 2 Zerg army? I guess it would be a StarCraft 2 Zerg army. I think. Yeah, I think it, yeah, he could play StarCraft 2. He could turn this into a StarCraft 2 ZVZ. Come to think of it, actually. I mentioned earlier that I had not yet seen a Protoss versus Zerg in this mod, but I actually had. Yeah, I did already see one. It was that MC game. One of the very first games, actually, that I saw. Where we did have a Brood War Protoss going up against the StarCraft 2 Zerg. In that particular game, we had like a late game swarm host transition, which is one of the most cursed things I've ever seen. Maybe that's why I blocked that game out of my memory, but correction from what I said earlier, not quite the case. Neural Parasite coming up right now. So we could have a Dark Archon take... What if you have an Infestor temporarily taking control of a Dark Archon, and then you steal a Dark Archon with Mind Control, which would technically be your opponents at that point, but they're technically allies too? Do they take over each other? Whoa, big Maelstrom over here though, into a big storm as well. Zealot's taking a load of damage. Not sure how those gameplay implications really work out. A lot of damage being done though here by our Protoss player. Reavers, yeah, having a grand old time shooting their scarabs wherever they can. The shuttle taking a ton of damage, but the Queen's not quite targeted on top of it. Said they're going to be using transfusion. There we go. Ultimately though, Protoss does win the fight. Yeah, Maelstrom is a really powerful ability. I also have really liked the Arbiter ability, the Stasis. There is no obvious counterplay in my mind that StarCraft 2 Zerg could use against it. I think Stasis would be a really good choice. I've also found from looking at that other game, yeah, now I'm remembering that entire PvZ, even though it didn't come to me earlier. Anyways, I did find, as we do have another good set of storms here, good bit of damage done too. Lovely push here by the Protoss player. I did find that Ultralisks are very good against Brood War Protoss, which is funny, because in StarCraft 2 they kind of suck. And this is StarCraft 2 Zerg, I guess. But Hydra's coming out, fighting their goons straight up. A couple of the Zealots, though, with their leg enhancements, joining in the fray as well. Okay. Yeah, I think ultimately Zerg should be able to stabilize here. Protoss is trying to go for a parade push, but I'm wondering if that is the right call. Dark Templar now also in the mix. The parade push is not a terrible idea, but it's just so dangerous. Okay. God, you are in the middle of the creep, man. Ugh. Oh, you're so slow. Okay. Shuttle shows up. Gravitic Drive wouldn't be a luxury at this point. This is not, by the way, just a straight up one-to-one copy from Brood War. Copy-pasted into StarCraft 2, because some of the things would just be broken. The developers of the game have been making minute adjustments here and there just to try and make the game a little bit more reasonable. So, some of the stuff might be a bit different than it would ultimately work out in StarCraft 1. So in this game, obviously, you do not have Immortals right here for Protoss, right? Which is one of the reasons. Like, normally what you do in StarCraft 2, if you see your opponent is going Ultras, is you Chrono Boost out a couple rounds of Immortals, and suddenly those Ultras are nullified. But you don't have that luxury in this game mode. Another Reaver drop, okay. Good bits, yeah, good bit of damage done. A lot of workers killed, by the way. Yeah, actually, only 12. Could have sworn I've seen more going down, but it's been a action-packed harassment game. Okay. Did we get all of the improvements, by the way? Oh, he loses it. Okay, that sucks. Gravitic Drive just finished, but that's a little bit too late right here for the shuttle. There are a couple of upgrades you can get as well for those Reavers. Again, there have been multiple iterations of this mod, and I'm not exactly sure which version of the mod it is at the moment. Or when it was played in this particular match. Some of the upgrades were baked in for some time, so I'm assuming here that Protoss did get all of those Reaver upgrades. But they are quite important for extra damage. Also extra carrying capacity of those Scarabs. Nice little Zergling run by over here. Oh. Dude, that one was chasing for ages. Reaver getting quite a bit of damage done there in the end. And you know what? It bought a lot of time. The entire Protoss army is running on over. There's Chitinous Plating. I think Chitinous Plating with +3 is actually a really good choice. What exactly is this Protoss going to be able to do against Chitinous Plating? You can use the Vipers here as well to abduct the important units. Well, like for example these Templar. Don't mind if I do. Yoink, yoink. There's finally a storm going down, but... God, Storm deals so much damage. What is the damage per second, or what is the total damage of Storm in Brood War? In StarCraft 2, it deals 80 damage. in total in a full cast. But these Hydras would have died. Is it 120 damage in Brood War? Ooh, okay. We have another Maelstrom going down. The one Archon here, the Dark Archon. Oh, putting in so much work. My god, the combination of those two abilities is nuts. Maelstrom into Psionic Storm is incredibly powerful. Yeah, those are combinations that are unseen in StarCraft 2. That's so sick. But look at this game, right? It's surprisingly balanced. I would have thought that somebody would have, like... Obviously, I have some cherry-picked replays, I guess, right? I'm not looking at your average game of SC2 Evo or StarCraft Evolution, whatever you want to call it. These are cherry-picked, I guess, but... The games I have seen look surprisingly close. Protoss taking over the entire top section of the map. You can't really expand like this in StarCraft 2. But it's working out quite well here. Ooh. My god, how much damage does it do in StarCraft Brood War, man? I gotta look this up. I'm gonna go look it up right now. High Templar Brood War. I hope the background here is going well and everybody can look at the game. Yeah, okay. Well, Protoss is gonna be able to destroy this, man. Storm is dealing so much damage. It doesn't say. It doesn't say it on the wiki. Oh, it's 112 damage. So it's actually a little bit different because it's 112 damage of 8 game ticks. We don't really use ticks like that anymore, huh? So 112 damage. In StarCraft 2, a storm is 80 damage. Sonic Storm, if you stand inside of the storm for the full duration. Hydras have 90 hit points. So yeah, the Hydras here would certainly have died. Speaking of dying, though, the entire Protoss army at this point has disappeared from this section of the map, but not without taking down quite a bit of the Zerg. Yeah, so Storm in this game is actually, like, not quite 50% stronger, but close to it. Like, already, Storm in StarCraft 2 is like, get out of there immediately type of ability. In this game, it's even more so. Okay, bunch of lurkers have shown up. Archons, ooh, being dropped over here too, and a Reaver once again in front of it. It's a very dynamic game, actually. There's finally the Reaver upgrades. No, we haven't had all the Reaver upgrades yet. Okay, so I was wondering about that. I was thinking maybe they're baked into the game at this point in the game's development. But that Reaver upgrade should have been researched a while ago. We've seen... Oh, Brood War Ultras don't deal splash damage, do they? Pretty sure Brood War units... Brood War Ultras, rather, are single target. Whew, not bad. Lurkers have, like, what, 120 HP, I think? So they almost died to one storm. Oh, well, High Templar themselves also died to one storm. Alright, Nidus Network coming up. This is actually so sick. I'm really loving these games. So fun. So one problem here that our Protoss player is running into is that he's not quite on top of all of the gateway production. Yeah, despite the fact that this is StarCraft 2 and you can hotkey all of your structures pretty easily, he's not been on top of the production there. And that's causing him to have a load of resources in the bank. Obviously, the macro cycle in that sense is a little bit easier for Protoss in StarCraft 2 than it is in Brood War. In StarCraft Brood War, by the way, you can only hotkey one structure on one control group if you want to. So the way they do this in Brood War is they have a camera location control group. So say they set like camera location F3 for all of these gateways. If you're fighting over here, you quickly hit F3 and you click every single gateway and produce shit real fast. And that's usually the way that it's done. Not a problem you have in this mod though. You can just control all of your structures and hotkey them all together. This base over on the right side is very, very close to where the Protoss' natural is. But it looks like Zerg is trying to mine it, and more Ultras will pop out of the cocoons. And you can see that Protoss is a little hesitant stepping onto the creep again. Why move onto the creep if you can fly around with shuttles instead? Oh. We really have to target it, man. All right, well, this is an ambitious plan. Although not entirely unrealistic. You know what? That was like half the health right there of a hatchery. That's not bad. I wouldn't mind seeing a parasitic bomb, by the way. Parasitic bomb is 120 HP. Shuttles have like 140. Yeah. So 2 parabombs would shut it down. I think actually parasitic bomb there would be the right call. Stasis is coming up instead of the Arbiter Tribunal. So, or Tribunal? Tribunal? I don't know. Doesn't matter. He's gonna go into a bunch of Arbiters here. And the Arbiters with Stasis, I mean, there is no easy counter. I guess it's Tribunal or Tribunal, depending on where you're from. I wouldn't be surprised if they say Tribunal in the UK. You know what? The Reapers are actually doing a good job here against the structures. But nobody says, you know, ZVZ either. Interestingly enough, the British commentators in StarCraft 2 they've always said ZVZ. ZVZ would be really strange. Anyways, Zerg army here, cornered. I don't think you want to be dropping the Reavers right into the Ultralisk, though. But ultimately, yeah, these Ultras, I mean, they're getting the most damage they will ever get. But this army is certainly not big enough to deal with the entire onslaught of the Protoss. Okay. He's going loads of Ultras. We don't yet have +3 melee, which I wouldn't mind seeing. Hallucinated. Oh no, wait, it's a changeling. That looks so weird. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. There you go. Changeling is gonna get shut down. In the meantime, Zorkling run by up north. But the photon cannons are doing a pretty good job here, and a couple Dark Templar are close by too. Cloaked Zealots now, because the Arbiter is up in the sky, obviously cloaking a bunch of the units underneath, like a little mini mama ship. Okay. I think adding on more gateways is not a bad choice. He's, by the way, taking the entire top left-hand section right now. He's sort of playing that that expansion like this is his old main base. We have a lot of idle workers here, which is a bit of a shame, but there's like 2 main bases right now for the Protoss, which is kind of sick. Dude, this is actually such a good game. We're getting to the point where every base has been taken, except for the one in the center. New Fighting Spirit does have that crazy map, or that crazy layout over there. Okay. Oh, big storms again. Fungal growth, but I mean, fungal growth? Is it good enough? That being said, though, this is what I was talking about. Those Ultras putting in so much work. You cannot use stasis on Ultras. You can, however... I think what you should do is get a Dark Archon and take control of the Overseer. If you remove detection there for the Zerg, that's a landslide victory. Again, not a problem you run into in Brood War, but... I think that's the play. Get a Dark Archon, mind control your opponent's Overseer. Yeah, now these Ultras are tearing everything apart. So you can't use stasis on the Ultralisks. Mostly because that would be insane. And I guess it's because of the Frenzy ability, right? So the Ultras have a passive called Frenzy. They've had that in StarCraft 2 for many, many years. Yeah. Protoss is struggling here against these straight-up units. Okay. No, you can't mind control Ultras. You can't stasis Ultras. Ultras are capable of popping force fields, although I guess that's not really relevant here. But they do have a bunch of different tools at their disposal. Looks like the Reavers from earlier are back. Or maybe the reincarnated version of them. I'm not exactly sure, but they are going to be able to get rid of that base. It's not the first hatchery we see falling to Reavers. Actually dealing a surprising bit of damage. Don't know what upgrade this is. Could be, it's definitely another Arbiter upgrade. Could be for the energy, maybe? Or maybe, no, that's not recall. Nah, that's not recall. Trying to kill the base. Bold move right there. Did he already get a recall? I don't know what the recall button would look like. No, this is Kaidiran Core, so that is the energy, I think, for the Raven. Or Raven. The Protoss Raven. It always looks like a Raven to me. I think that increases their max energy or something like that. Obviously, though, the Arbiter does not have an attacking ability of its own. And that is just a bunch of Zealots running to their deaths. Stasis, by the way, is really strong. Like, Stasis lasts forever. And there's nothing Zerg can really do about it, so you're just kind of sitting there, twiddling your thumb, waiting. I mean, this is only 2 Zerglings, so you don't really care that much. But if your entire army is stasis, or half of it, which would be worse, there's really no counterplay. I feel like those abilities that you have as Brood War Protoss... Ooh, don't do that. Like Maelstrom, like Stasis, like Storm, I think that's actually where Brood War Protoss is really powerful. Yeah, I think maybe the shuttles can deal a little bit of damage, but not quite enough to kill the hatchery. Well, at the very least, not anymore, because the hatchery has been transfused now. Okay, so who's gonna be bold enough to take the expansion in the middle of the map? You know what? This expansion has actually been available for a while now. I think this is the first time somebody even got close to it. I think either of them are assuming that that base is too obvious, so they decide not to take it, but this is a very powerful base. 8 golden mineral fields is not to be underestimated. Yeah, Brood War spells are actually so powerful. I've always thought that StarCraft 2 spells are too powerful and that StarCraft 2 is too focused on spellcasters. I still believe that. I think the game would be a little bit more fun if spellcasters weren't, like, the core of your army. Maybe not so much in the current meta, but there have been metas in the past where, like, your entire army is spellcaster, and I've always thought that it was a little silly. Especially, like, with Broodlord Infestor, for example. Insane. But it's the same for StarCraft 2 right now. Abilities like Fungal Growth, Parasitic Bombs, Abduction, Storm, EMP. There are so many really powerful spells in StarCraft 2, and I think it would be more fun, especially for, like, Zerg, to not be so reliant on, well, spellcasters, but to be maybe a little bit more of a swarmy race. Anyways, apparently in Brood War, the spells are noticeably more powerful still, which is, hey, there you go. That's one way of getting it done. That was a Reaver shooting at a bunch of Zerglings that, while that Scarab was up in the air, turned into a stasis. A little bit of a miscommunication between the Protoss units. Now it's a little awkward, though. Yeah, because he's stuck in his own base. Whoa. One of the Zealots just got pushed into the stasis. Effectively now being put into stasis himself. There's the recall. That's gotta be recall right there. That looks like a recall ability to me. Of course, that allows you, much like the Mama ship in StarCraft 2, it allows you to recall towards the Arbiter. Very powerful. I've heard Artosis is a big fan of that ability in particular. He loves that. Very strong, though, if you can suddenly appear inside of your opponent's main base, for example. Broodlord's coming up. These Zergling run-bys are killer. Yeah, really strong. Only 22 workers, by the way, remain. Protoss, in the meantime, is overwhelming one of the expansions as well of the Zerg. I really think Zerg should take that expansion in the middle. It's a small commitment, and there's a lot of minerals remaining. I don't see why not. We've seen a couple of pylons powering everything. Well, this high ground should be much more protected. Creep being cleared out here. We have some Neural Parasite potential here too, though. Don't forget about the Infestors. They can cast Neural Parasite while burrowed. Okay, I think this will be decided by the clash between the main armies. These two have been dancing around each other for a while now. Fungal, all of the Templar, dude! Are you... I think you could even Neural Parasite and then use Storm. I think actually Neural Parasiting and using Storm would have been better. Because those High Templar, like, their damage is insane, as we've already discussed. They don't have that much HP. Well, the Zerg still just took care of basically all the Templar. And that is a major problem right here. There's still a couple of them remaining. Stasis here is obviously good as well. 49 drones, by the way, have just gone down. After not really losing a lot of workers throughout the game, Zerg just took so much damage. You can actually prevent these guys, yeah, exactly, from retreating. You're trying to run away? Well, I mean, I'm gonna have about a minute to catch up. I guess that allows our Protoss right now to take house, or to clean house over here in the bottom left-hand corner. A lot of Zealots derping against each other. The Zealot leg enhancements are not quite the same as charge. That entire Zerg army is gonna have to wait a moment. Look at this Archon. 10 HP, no problems. Well, now it's dead. Drones burrowed underground, so at the very least that's something, but Zerg just got reduced to, well, a whole lot of nothing, really. We still have 72 army supply, but it's pretty much all right over here. I think Stasis, and I think the spells in this game may just be a little too good. Yeah. I would not be surprised if this game mode continues being popular over the next couple months that the spells are going to get some strength reductions, because as far as I can tell, there's really no counterplay to Maelstrom or to Stasis. I don't see what you could do here as Zerg to try and counter it. I have no idea. The Stasis just lasts so long as well. For a game that is as fast-paced, it seems ridiculous to have something last. Like, I think that was seriously a minute, right? Or at least it felt like a minute. That's what she said. Anyways. There's no easy counter against these Brood Lords, though. And that is something that we do have to note. I did see a single scout. One scout to find them, and in the darkness bind them. Considered to be one of the absolute worst units in all of StarCraft. But I think this might be the key, because there's a couple Corruptors still. How do these Zealots do against these Zerglings and choke points? Not bad, eh? Yeah. Those are not StarCraft 1 Zerglings. Ultimately, the Lings will win the fight. You know what? There's only one drone remaining right now for our Zerg player, but he does have a very powerful army. Zealot over here with 14 confirmed kills. The commanding officer of the Protoss has been left behind to ensure that Zerg does not retake a base. Joke's on him, though. Zerg doesn't even have the minerals to go ahead and do so. You know what? These Brood Lords are actually not to be underestimated, though. There's no easy way for Protoss to get rid of those. And at this point, there's no mining. Actually, yeah, there's like no mining. This is the last little bit of income. There's that gold base in the middle that I've brought up about 17 times, but nobody ever took it. And now Protoss is starting to run out of cash. Okay. Good storm, I guess. Can we get another one? That's another Templar down. 2 Templar for like a little bit of base damage on the Brood Lords? I'm not so sure. We do have a Dark Archon, though. I think you Maelstrom. He doesn't have mind control, so you can't mind control. He didn't research it. Oh. 2 Reavers inside of it, but very little anti-air. Or anti-ground, I guess, even to kill, but... Brood Lords. Brood Lords might just win the game. He's splitting them as much as possible, though he is going to be aiming for a Maelstrom here, I'm sure, with the Dark Archon drop. The nice advantage, of course, of that Maelstrom is that you can continue dealing damage. It's like a little baby Stasis, except you can continue storming your opponent's units. GG is cold. And just like that, it's our Protoss player who obtains the victory.